Hey, everybody. I hope this finds you well. Hope you're all doing well, staying healthy, productive, and sane. Or at least you're definitely doing your best, like all the rest of us, just trying to get through the strange and challenging time. So, this is week two of our new shelter in place lives, and I'm beginning to see more people are settling into place. And we're finding our daily rhythm. We're been forced to make a lot of very big changes very quickly. And we're still experiencing generally higher levels of stress. And it's the uncertainty and the worry, the challenges of homeschooling if you've got kids at home while still trying to work, or for some, if you're not working. And all of these things are creating a fair amount of personal, financial, physiological, psychological, and emotional stress. And it's taking a toll on our health. And it's definitely taking a toll on our well being. And so today I'm excited to welcome Dr. Maria Mozeson to help us overcome some of these stresses by strengthening ourselves from within. And she'll talk about what we can do by focusing on our health, our bodies, and our immune system, that we can more effectively battle the stresses and increase our chances of fighting off infections and illnesses and diseases. And so, with that, I'd like to welcome my friend, Dr. Maria, to our talk. I'm going to bring her on the screen. Hey, Maria, can you see me and hear me?
I can. Roman, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
And we're excited to have you. Thanks for being here. I'm going to take another moment to introduce you and put a little bit of a spotlight on you so folks know who you are and why you're here this afternoon. But Dr. Maria graduated with a degree in chiropractic and opened a clinic in Palo Alto about 17 years ago. And over the years, their clinic has evolved, and it now includes other service centers. They have a team of doctors who have become leaders in the field of regenerative and functional medicine. And their practice is called RegenCore. It consists of both medical doctors and alternative healthcare practitioners who are blended together to improve their patients' lives from various perspectives. And Maria herself is a practitioner of functional medicine. She is a self-professed biohacker, and she's a good friend. So, Maria, thank you again for being here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, and that was such a lovely introduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Um,
So I guess one of the things that I wanted to ask you just before we get started is what is functional medicine? How does it work? And perhaps you can start by telling us a little bit about that and your work.
Absolutely. Like we were saying before, like I was saying before, sometimes I forget that people don't know what functional medicine is because it's so much a part of our world. Um, but large part of the population still doesn't know what it is. So, functional medicine, basically, what it is a practice of medicine where you use certain diagnostic tests to check certain levels within the body that are potentially subclinical. Maybe you have a condition, maybe you don't. But you're trying to see certain trends within the body to see if it's going down a road or going in a direction of something, to see if there's something within the body that is not supposed to be there, or if there's something that your body essentially needs and it's missing. And then after we've figured out what that is, the practice is to put into place lifestyle changes or nutritional recommendations and supplementation therapies that can help you to rebalance your body in order to achieve better health so that you can uh, like restore the natural ability of the body to do what it's supposed to do.
That's very cool. So, how can we use all of that at a time like this when we're all sitting at home? We're have various things going on, whether we're homeschooling kids or worried about work, money. We're kind of locked up and maybe not
Yeah,
doing as well as we could be doing. So, how can we do better during this time?
yeah, this is a really crazy time that we're living in. So, I haven't experienced it in my lifetime. It's completely new for everybody. It's a new ballpark. But I think the question on everybody's mind is, what can I do under the present circumstances that is going to strengthen me? And why is functional medicine relevant? And I think that what you have to keep in mind is, with respect to COVID, the people that are experiencing moderate to severe clinical cases, those people are experiencing them. Typically, they have a comorbidity or multiple comorbidities,
Mm,
and or they could be immune compromised. They're either the elderly or the very young. But the trend there is that they're immune compromised. Something's wrong in their system already. And that's why they're experiencing those moderate to severe cases with COVID and possibly succumbing. So I think the important thing to take away from that is that it's their immune system, whether or not it's strong or weak, is the factor there that's the
mm,
element that we focus in on. So the functional medicine, it's designed to make the body run more efficiently, including your immune system. So it's really relevant at this point, and I think that my objective in communicating with my patient base and my audience, and hopefully with everybody that you're affiliated with, is to give you guys uh, some tools that you can use to put into your life, to put into your practice, that can help you to boost your immune system naturally.
mhm.
Yeah.
Can you share with
Yeah.
everyone, like, what are those things? So practically speaking, so we're at home, we're not doing nearly as many things as you probably would want us to do, and like if we could be free to move around
Yeah.
and follow your advice to the T. What should we be doing right now to boost our immune system and to just live healthier through this time?
Yeah. So, under these circumstances, when you're at home, your resources maybe are a little bit more limited than they normally would be. But one of the things that we talked about earlier is I'm going to put on the front end things that are maybe a little less well known, so that, if your kids are running around you and we lose your attention,
Hmm.
these are the things we want to get in there.
Hmm.
And one of the things is using fuel or nutrition as fuel. Like, what kind of foods are you going to be focusing on right now? A traditional anti-inflammatory diet, if you're familiar with it, that's a good place to start.
Hmm.
Um, you know, a lot of us were advised, as you said before, a lot of us were advised to go and purchase non-perishable products. Unfortunately, and that's really good practice, and it's really important to keep that recommendation in there. I'm not negating that. But at the same time, it's not a substitute for the nutrition that we still do have available in our marketplaces. So
Hmm.
go to the produce section and finding those resources of supplements, these natural supplements that are right there. Um, vivid red vegetables, those are going to be super high in vitamin C, really important right now. Anything in that produce aisle is going to be useful for you at this point. Make it nice, make it colorful. Healthy fats, not bad fats. Olive oil, grapeseed oil, avocado oil, in place or in lieu of maybe canola oil or vegetable oil. The fat exchange is a super big one, and fat is going to be a really good resource for fuel at this point. Healthy fats. Um, just sticking to those, three types of things: lean proteins, produce, fruits, is going to be really important. And avoiding, if you can, things that are packaged, things that are maybe loaded in sugars and toxins and preservatives and things like that, because that's going to raise and elevate inflammation within your body. It's going to work against your immune system versus working for your immune system. We want to strengthen your body as much as possible. So while you have that stash of non-perishables,
Hmm.
try and utilize the amazing resources we have here in California. We have amazing resources here. So I know my farmer's market down the street, she's like there around the clock right now providing stuff
I'm
for
sure.
the community. Yeah, so that's one place to start. But with nutrition, what I also wanted to keep like on the forefront of people's minds is not only what you're putting in your body, but also how you're putting it in your body. So one thing that we talk about in functional medicine a lot and use as a resource for resetting your immune system is intermittent fasting. There's lots of different kinds of fasting that you can do and you can incorporate into your routine. I know it's kind of hard because you're at home and your refrigerator's right there, and you might be running to it more frequently because your patterns are disrupted, and it's something that people naturally tend to do when they're disoriented. But one of the most important, one of the most key things that we use in functional medicine is fasting. So if you know about it, there's a lot of different kinds. But the point is that when you do or utilize fasting, what your body does is it goes into this process called autophagy. And what that means is that it starts to eat cells that are basically non-functioning for your body or that are not useful for you. They're slowing down your immune system. They're slowing down your body's natural functions. So when you get rid of those cells and you start to produce new, you're basically resetting your immune system. You're starting from scratch. You're also, when you're not eating all the time, when you're not eating so consistently throughout the day, you're diverting all of that energy that you would be using for metabolism and using it instead in systems like your immune system. So that's another thing that I like to help people keep in mind. And if you're brand new to fasting, um, you know, one good rule of thumb is to just try and cut out snacking. Try and just eat 3 meals a day. And then if you get that, then try and limit the time block in which you're putting those 3 meals. So, these are some really simple things that you can do from your house and implement right away to just try and get that process going. I mentioned before, this is, oh, I just saw you.
Sorry, I'm switching the screen on you, throwing you off a little.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, no. So that was the one thing. That was number one. I think I have 3 things on my big hit list. So the second one was detox. We talked about functional medicine focusing on what you're putting into your body and knowing what's missing. So not just throwing things at it. We're going to talk about supplementation later, but you don't have to just throw things at it. You can test yourself and see what your levels are at, but intelligently putting things in.
So Maria, remind me again. So you had the 3 things: the detox, fasting.
Yes. So we're going to talk about nutrition and fasting, detox, and then what else did I want to talk to you about?
The supplements.
Oh, and the supplements. Yes. Supplementation. So let's start with the detox because the detox is a huge thing. Unless you detox your body of existing toxins, it's really hard for you to receive anything else. So even if you do all of the nutritional supplementation, like somebody tells you, okay, you take this, you take that because you're deficient in it, your body may not absorb it. So it's really important to get that detox on the front end. It helps anyways. All of these things are good to do in combination. But the detox is really key. One thing that you can do from home is removing the source. So if you are, so it's like detoxing your home. If you're just in your house, you maybe don't recognize that there's a million things in your house that could be toxic for you. We talked about removing toxic foods, right? But then there's also things in your house. There's the lipstick you put on your face. There's the water you're bathing in, the soap that you use to wash your clothes. All of those things could potentially have elements within them that are adding to the trillion buckets that you have in your body that are meant to filter toxins. The more of those buckets get full, the more compromised your immune system becomes because you have to divert that energy, right? Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we remove the source. What we also offer from our practices, what we do is we do a cellular detox. We do a true cellular detox. And the reason that I highly, highly recommend it is because what it does is it's doing a true heavy metal chelation, which a lot of practitioners are afraid to do because it's challenging. It's really challenging to remove toxins from the body. But this one is a really safe, it's a really effective, and it's a really easy method of doing that. And once you get those toxins out, your body can start to function properly, and then your cells can actually receive nutrition. I wish I could draw you a picture of a cell so you can kind of better understand. But what toxins do is your body will roll it into fat, and then it'll surround your cell. And inside your cell, you have mitochondria, which is going to produce the energy currency of the body. But if you can't get things into it, it doesn't matter how much vitamin C you take, you know what I mean? So you want to make sure to detox your body on the front end if you can. Um,
So just not to interrupt, but just make sure that I understand it. And this is truly a 1, 2, 3 kind of step process. That it doesn't make sense to just load yourself up with supplements necessarily if you haven't properly detoxed, because your cells might not be able to take in all the nutrients that you're otherwise sending in. Is that a
right.
fair
So
assessment?
I think that under these circumstances, my advice for anybody who's afraid or has a fear element happening, I would take any like especially if I had vitamin C resources, I wouldn't be so picky about what I'm getting. I would be taking it.
Hmm,
So I do recommend that you take it, but you would be wasting more of your money if you don't detox on the front end,
makes
because
sense.
whether or not you're absorbing it is going to depend on how well your body can metabolize. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely. So you would recommend starting with detox,
I do. Yes. Yeah.
um, and
Yeah.
then moving on. Do you want to talk more about the detox, things that we might be able to do at home? I know you guys do some really cool stuff at work, but
Yeah.
I don't know that people have access to what you
Yeah.
might otherwise be able to do. Or are there resources online that we could use, or can you recommend something for us to follow to detox better?
I think we're all beginning to jump on this innovation bandwagon that maybe we were trying to get to before, but we didn't really have the push. We have the push now. Um, we can send these detoxes to your house. You can test yourself. You
Mm,
can send your lab material to um, facilities that are designed to check and see what it is that's going on within your body. And you can get the detox packages to your house. You can also do telemedicine consultations with practitioners who are involved in these types of things to kind of monitor you through the process. We have portals now that offer video education platform for just keeping you on task and making sure that you're doing all of the things correctly, and a form of a community of patients who are experiencing the same thing that everybody else is, right? So you can talk about it with other people who are experiencing it. So no, there is a definite virtual method of
mm.
having this in your house. You do not have to go outside, although I highly recommend going outside. Definitely have to go outside and get some sunshine. Go in your backyard if you
So
can.
I wanted just to come back to what you said a moment ago, and it sounded like you said there is a virtual way for us to connect. There's a community aspect to it. There's some resources and way to get these supplements. Is that something that you want to mention now, or should I leave to the end? And if you can, perhaps you can give me some of the actual websites or URLs, and I'll try to put them in the show notes so that folks know where to go. And I can do that towards the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the place that we're starting is we're using the Calendly link I gave you earlier, and basically what that is just like a 15-minute touch to see, where we can send people and what services it is that we can offer. We're really trying to communicate with our patients or whoever it is that comes to us,
Hmm.
asking for assistance and making sure to kind of put them into the right place. Um, it
I think I
kind of
have that. This is the This is your personal Calendly schedule, and you're saying people can use this to then reach
Yeah.
out to you, and you can help figure out which direction to point them in.
Right. So,
Okay.
I mean, some patients do need to come in. We're going to talk about it later, but we're doing a lot of IV therapy. We're doing definitely screening for and exams for patients who are experiencing more severe
Mm,
symptoms. Um, in those cases, our office is open
mhm,
to help and be of assistance. But if that's not the case, and you're looking for another resource of information, or you're looking for detox services, we can do those with telemedicine, and that's what we're trying to do so that we can stay in line with social distancing, and just minimize the amount of time people have to spend in transit to somewhere.
yeah, where they may not be able to get to. That's great.
Yeah.
Do you want to spend a moment about either fasting or supplements? And then the other question I had for you is, and this is something that I personally really spoke to me, but you said something about the seven basics when you and I talked earlier.
I'm
And
gonna
I
have
just want to ask that we don't forget about that, because as someone who's generally health conscious and aware, and I like to think of myself as um, knowing a little bit more than maybe than I would otherwise, but I did not know about the seven basics, and they are so commonsensical that when you said them, it makes perfect sense. And one of the things that it reminded me is that a lot of times, most really meaningful things are commonsensical, but it's just putting them to common practice is really what makes the difference and gets us the results that we're looking for. So if we could pivot for a moment, if you can just mention what those are, I think most people listening to this would benefit from it, like I did.
Oh yeah, we can definitely talk about the basic seven. It's like at the front end of any functional medicine visit, and it's the foundation, or it sets the foundation for basically what we want the patient to understand about their participation within it.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things, like there's moving parts around it, right? But what you can do at home, I mean, you need to work on your breath. We talked about that earlier. Something that I tend to do, especially when I'm having stress, is hold my breath. So we talked about some of the exercises that you can do about breathing in to capacity, then exhaling everything so that you get all of that stale air out of your lungs. And what it's doing is it's just strengthening those accessory muscles of respiration and expanding your lung capacity. And what I like to do, and I think you love that.
I just started doing this right now. It feels good.
Most of my patients like this, but it's so therapeutic and calming and balancing. Um, but I forget to do it. So I stack it with brushing my teeth. Because I know that if I layer those two things together, I'm not going to forget to do those exercises
Hmm.
through the day. You can do it at any point during the day. It's a really good habit to incorporate. Tends to reduce your stress level and just rebalance you. So I think it's a really good thing to incorporate. We talked about fuel already, or the nutrition that we put into our body. That's number two. We didn't talk about hydration. A really simple thing to remember about hydration is that whatever it is that you weigh, divide it by two, and that's how much water you should be drinking in ounces. Pretty easy, right?
So weight divided by two, that's how much water we should be drinking in ounces per day.
Correct. And most people don't make that minimum. So,
Right.
you know, some people do, some people do. But you want to make sure it's filtered water or reverse osmosis water. Um,
I was going to say,
Water.
this time, does wine count?
Well, you know what? I hate to plug anything, but Dry Farms wine is a really good resource. Organic wine. I like wine. It's a thing. So, but it's got a lot of sugar. So I like Dry Farms because it doesn't have as much sugar.
I hate to pause on this, but I hate to stop your flow, but I do want to pause on this, and that is, I think it's just natural, and we're all cooped up at home. We've got various, things going on. I think one of the natural ways to deal with stress is to have a glass of wine, or two, or three, and I think it solves some part of the problem that we might be experiencing. But I also know that it increases the inflammation in our body. So, is that something that we should, I mean, as a medical professional and as a practical perspective, like, is that something we should be concerned about? And is that part of our, a detox regimen? Do you recommend moderating? Does it matter? What would you say?
I always recommend moderation. Moderation is always a good idea.
Hmm.
Uh, but small amounts in your daily routine. Red wine has resveratrol in it, so that's going to be very, very useful for you. It's a supplement that I take every day, actually, in addition to an occasional glass of wine. I don't see any reason to be concerned about that. I do promote organic wine, and I do promote Dry Farms wine because it's got a specific sugar content. So if you have, again, a comorbidity like diabetes, you might be concerned about things like that. If you have any kind of blood sugar handling problems, keep it in mind, obviously. I'm not making recommendations on a specific um, patient per patient basis here, but in general, uh, if it gives you some sense of peace or calm towards the end of your day, I'm not sitting in judgment. Let's just put it that way, because I'm more concerned with the elevated levels of stress that people are experiencing.
Mm,
Mindset's the last thing. That's number 7. We talked about that one, right?
mhm,
All the fear that's constantly like filtering through our TVs, our cell phones, our newspapers, all of the, like added stresses of trying to figure out homeschooling while you may be still working. All those things are, adding to our stress levels.
mhm.
My primary objectives is how the heck do I just get people to calm down, slow down. And if your way of doing that is having a glass of wine in the evening, again, try the recommendation that I just made. But yeah, I'm not opposed to it. So that's my take.
Good. Well, I'm glad you gave us permission to have a glass of wine this evening. So good. So we've got so
Yeah,
breathing, fuel, hydration, um,
sun. I meant sun,
sun. That's right.
right? Yeah. So it doesn't mean social distancing doesn't mean, and quarantine doesn't mean that you can't get outside in your backyard or your balcony or just open your window and open the shades and get some of that direct sunlight. It elevates levels of vitamin D. It's going to improve your mood. It elevates your mood and it boosts your immune system. It's proven to do so. So try and absorb as much vitamin C at the first part of the day and at the evening, if you can. So it's definitely not a reason to stay inside. Movement is another one. It's a huge one for me. I don't know about you, but I know you need to get moving. I have to move in order to get those endorphins to make myself a little bit uplifted. But it's also a huge detoxer. Um, your skin, where your sweat comes out of, it's one of the biggest organs of detoxification that we have. So sweating, get moving, get that exercise in there at least 20 minutes a day if you can. Even just walking.
I was just going to say, I think on the movement part, I think it's so important also in lowering our stress levels because so much of our work, even when, and it seems like it
Yeah,
was longer than 2 weeks ago, but most of us work sort of shoulders up.
yeah.
And we find, or most of us find most of the time, just we're sitting in front of our computers or, but in a sitting position. And especially right now, as we're more homebound, I think more than ever, it's so important for us to move.
Yeah,
And with movement, I know that in addition to whether it's detoxification because we're breaking a sweat, but just the creativity that ends up taking place and the mindset shift that takes place. And it's so important sometimes to get out of the four walls that otherwise feel are constantly surrounding us. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
yeah, and as long as you maintain social distancing etiquette outside, you're fine, just maintain your distance protocol and you should be okay.
Great.
Um, but try to get outside, try to get some fresh air, try to move. You'll vibrate at a different frequency and your body will respond well. Um, Number 6 is sleep. I have a big problem with sleep. Once I get to the end of my day, I have separation anxiety from the day.
Hmm.
So I have trouble falling asleep. So one of the things and one of the tools that I use to make it a little bit easier is to turn off my electronics about an hour before bed, and make sure that I'm putting myself and preparing my mind and my body for sleep. One of the tools that I use is binaural meditation music. I use it for myself. I use it for my kids. You can use noise canceling earphones. Sometimes I'll do some red light therapy, um, and then just get myself into that space, and prepared for rest. Because at rest is when you do tissue repair. That's the time when your body does the majority of its healing. So if you're not allowing yourself that space, you're really doing yourself a disservice.
Hmm.
And the last item on the list that we talked about is gonna have to be impacted by everything else we just mentioned, which is mindset. Because again, we all have elevated levels of stress. Um, Cortisol is an insanely opportunistic um,
Yeah.
part of the body, and what it does is it basically just like an albatross takes control of everything, and nothing else has the ability to thrive. Um, it literally Cortisol literally shuts down your immune system. It just turns it off. So if you're in fear, no matter what you do, You need to turn that physiology around by doing any of those other 6 items that we talked about. Move yourself out of that position, move yourself to a calm place by any means necessary. Because that mindset, the mind-body connection, is probably the most important piece of the basic 7. So,
So just as a reiteration, so number 1 is breath,
yes.
fuel, hydration.
Are you asking me? Oh, I thought you were.
I'm going through the list: sun, movement, sleep, and mindset.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I know you and I talked about this when you first told me, and I'm like, wow, it's really cool, and I should probably practice all of these every single day. And I could see how that can create some stress in and of itself, just trying to keep up with all of it. What would you say to folks who are kind of listening to this or taking something away? And is it important that we do all 7 of these, or
No.
what do you recommend?
Yeah. So, like, when you get into functional medicine, I think that on the front end, what I notice with most people is if I don't say this one key phrase, the task seems insurmountable and huge. And, they get this perception that you have to be perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect today, and I'm not going to be perfect at any point in my life. I know that. This is a practice. This is something that you have to practice at and do every day, one little tiny piece at a time. So try one thing, incorporate one new thing, and then repeat it, because repetition is the mother of skill. The more you do it, the more you're going to put it into your muscle memory, you're going to put it into your habits bank, and it's going to be part of your routine. If you start thinking about the entire elephant, you're just never going to get it done, because you're going to get stuck in that overwhelmed state. So, no, one piece at a time. You don't have to be perfect. You will mess up.
And I think it's important that consistency, like you said, and it's so important, because none of the things that we've talked about that are so good for us
Right.
will have an immediate impact. I wish I could just take this pill and tomorrow I'd wake up and just feel great and get rid of any toxicity or get healthy, boost my immune system. But at the end of the day, it's just this compounding effect, whether we're heading in the right direction or the wrong direction, something is compounding, and it's either the good or the bad. And I guess one of the first things that you had mentioned is to try to turn the ship, is to make sure that we clean or cleanse our bodies of any toxins, and then
Absolutely.
make our way forward in a productive way, a healthy way.
Right. Right. Whatever you do is going to have a result. So if you feel unwell, you're going to want to course correct. If I get to the point where I'm feeling unwell, I'm already, I'm like, okay, no, we need to go that direction. So I think probably a really good thing to keep in mind at this point is that you should definitely, if this is a concern for you, educate yourself. There are amazing practitioners out there who you can listen to, you can read about, you can go to. If that's not your skill set, and you don't have time for that, then find a mentor or guide, or someone like myself, a functional medicine practitioner, who can help you to get through the process and avoid the pitfalls and not make those same mistakes. It's really, really a lot easier to do this process when you can model your behavior after someone who's done it 1,000 times.
And if you can also, if you could just reiterate kind of the benefits that boosting of our immune system can have on battling general infections, but in particular, will this help us with navigating the COVID-19 outbreak in some way? I know it's not a cure. It won't prevent us from having it, but will it help?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We talked about it on the front end with the detox, and I don't know if I elaborated, but the idea is that if you have a finite amount of resources and buckets within your body to handle things that are attacking you, the circumstances and the environment around you that are working to break you down, um, and you've utilized the majority of them, or if you're concurrently trying to handle something and then you get exposed to something else, it's kind of like the story about the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? you've got that one more thing added on top. And are you that person? Are you prepared to handle this circumstance when it comes your way? So
Hmm.
what you can do with functional medicine is you can prepare yourself better. You can train yourself better to be a stronger opponent, essentially. You're basically just giving yourself more of a fighting chance under any circumstances. So that's the really important part about functional medicine and why it's relevant to COVID specifically. We didn't talk about supplementation.
Hmm.
Uh, it was kind of like, you know, we want to talk about the detox first, obviously, because I'd like to get people in the line with thinking that, if you really want to get good absorption, you should do the detox first. But supplementation in the season is always something that we recommend, and people always ask us, okay, well, what supplements,
Hmm.
and why these supplements? I do like to vet the grade of supplement that I use. A lot of the stuff that's on market right now is not bioavailable, meaning that your body can't absorb it. But there are really some useful tools. And as I said to you earlier, not during this conversation, but 90% of Americans don't have the nutrition, they're not meeting their nutritional needs. So, supplementation is almost like a mandatory for me and my family. But what are you going to supplement with? During the season, we're always talking about vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin A. We're talking about echinacea. We're talking about elderberry. We're talking about garlic extract. I mean, those are pretty standard, and most people understand that they should be taking something like that. But what? Do I suggest, and how and what doses? So,
Hmm.
during this season, I think that it's important to understand that mega dosing is a tool. It's a therapeutic tool that practitioners will use. In fact, in China, they've been using high dose levels of vitamin C done throughout the day, microdosing throughout the day, or not microdosing, macrodosing.
Hmm.
But it's been hugely impactful. They're doing it also in New York I think it's on a smaller scale, but it's therapy that's being used, and it's a vitamin, and we forgot about it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, to give you an idea of dosing, and again, this is specific to the person because when you overdo it on vitamins, I don't know if you've ever done that, but you can you can have to run to the restroom fairly quickly. But elimination is also really important for your immune system as well. So maybe that's a good thing. I don't
I
know.
know.
Yeah. But the idea is that you're looking at anywhere between 2 to 6,000 for ingestibles, um, IU. So, and I think what they're doing with the patients who are actually experiencing COVID is anywhere between 2 and 24,000. I think in China they were actually up to 50,000. So those are huge numbers. When most people look at those, they're like thinking the RDA in the back of their mind. um, the daily recommended allowance is pretty low. It's not really meeting the requirements. So sorry, that was something right there. Making sure that your dosage is right and that you're using the amounts that you require and that you need, and getting instruction on how to do that and when to cut it off. Because things like zinc. Oh, did I mention zinc? I forgot about it.
Yeah.
Zinc is another one, but you can overdo it, and that can cause some problems. So you want to make sure that you're using supplementation properly. Another thing that we didn't talk about was the IV therapy. So intravenous supplementation is a really super supportive element for boosting your immune system that can give you that quick dose. Thing with ingestibles is people are not all that consistent sometimes. I know I'm not. I always forget. My kids definitely forget. So if you feel like you need an insurance policy intravenous and you're immune compromised and you're concerned, there are intravenous options for supplementation for boosting your immune system, and I think that that's a great resource for people who are concerned. Um, and then also, unfortunately, if you are affected and you are ill, those are also options that you can do, and you can do those mega high dosages when you're doing in an intravenous capacity.
But I imagine that's something that has to be administered by a healthcare professional. You can't just
Yeah.
get those yourself and for home use.
No, that is not for home use. But
Yeah.
as I said, this is something for someone who is potentially immune compromised. And, we follow CDC guidelines within our practice. We are offering this service. But if somebody is immune compromised and concerned about, you know, facing this circumstance and not really prepared with supplementation, didn't have, the lifestyle categories in place, this may be something that you choose to incorporate. Um,
Yeah, I just wanted to mention or ask a clarifying question. So, in terms of the supplements, so from what I've heard, is that we should be supplementing
yeah.
um, just to be healthier, in part because we may not be getting all the nutritional value out of our food right now because we may not be eating those rich nutrient foods being at home. But even if we are, we may not have all of the essential vitamins that you mentioned. I don't remember all of them, but I'm sure you'll remind us.
Yes.
And so
You have that link. The link I sent you earlier. It generally has a memo from me that will indicate what my personal recommendations are for ingestibles.
let me make sure. Is this the link that you were talking about?
That's the
Okay.
one.
Well, so let's take a quick commercial break. Tell us about the link.
Oh yeah. So basically, what this is just a platform. Health practitioners often source their supplementation material, same as any other pharmacological drug,
Mm-hmm.
from manufacturers that are vetted. So versus just getting something from CVS or from Walgreens or what have you, I prefer to vet my products beforehand and to have them vetted by others as well within our community so that we can make sure that the quality is what we expect it to be. So this is actually a resource for that in the first place. And then in the second place, the other thing that offers me is that it takes all of those manufacturers and it puts it in one place where I can pull from different people that I trust and get those resources for my patients. The problem is that, we have an unheard of demand right now for supplementation and not very many resources. So this is something I'm actually doing weekly. I'm combing through the available resources and trying to find where I can get this supplement or that supplement for the patients when they're asking me for it.
So what if people go to this website? What are they expecting to see on the other end?
Come again?
When people go to this website, what are they expecting to receive? What's the experience? Because I think you sent it to me, but I haven't used it yet.
So if you go to the link, you're going to log in. You're going to create a password, and then you're going to get the entire store available to you. But if you email me, which is it's available on the functional medicine portion of our Facebook page.
What's the website so I can put this in the show notes?
It's RegenCore Reset.
Is that your?
I don't think I gave it to you.
No.
But we can later maybe.
Okay.
Reset.
Can you give me your email so people can email you if they have questions?
Sure, absolutely. It's Maria.
Yep.
Period. Mozeson at gmail.com. Got
it. We're going to have that going right there. So if you have a question, you can email Maria. And then it sounds like if people go to that website, then they can register and they can have access to all the different supplements that you personally have vetted, ones that you recommend that you use.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
So the website's going to be the entire store, so there's going to be a lot of stuff available. If you send me a message, then I can get you the recommendations for whatever it is that you're looking for this season.
Got it. So I'm going to leave your website, or sorry, your email going for a while so folks can take note and they can reach out to you as needed. And then just in a final couple of minutes, just to go back, when we talked about supplements, you'd mentioned, again, for all of us who are healthy and trying to stay healthy, supplementing is important. And you mentioned the different levels of dosages, sort of what's recommended, what you should take, and what you should take if you have an immune or compromised immune system, or if you're battling some illness and hopefully never the coronavirus, but that will be obviously administered by healthcare professionals. So if you're healthy and you're trying to stay healthy, should we follow the prescribed dosages, or are you recommending that we increase those as well?
No, I'm not going to do that
Yeah.
because until I have the opportunity to speak with a person, I can't tell what their specific circumstances.
Mhm.
Um, but I will say this, if you're ingesting a supplement, it doesn't matter what it says on the package, your body's going to typically absorb around 20% of it.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, so if you take that into consideration, like you can play around with those numbers quite a bit. Um, and you also have physiological symptoms when you're starting to cross the line. Uh,
Hmm.
so just to give you an example, like I mega dose vitamin D, and my vitamin D will sometimes be 50,000 IU on a Monday, and then I'll do smaller doses through the week. But again, that's going to be something that's more of a one-on-one conversation if you're doing it outside of the guidelines of the supplement itself.
Got it. Good. Well, so it sounds like, as a takeaway from all of this, at least as I understood everything, try to clean out our own bodies and detox, try to do some fasting as a way to strengthen our immune system, and then supplement the foods that we're eating. And if you could go through, just list off those vitamins again, it would be super helpful because I didn't catch all of them.
I'm going to say that on the front end, I missed two. Probiotics and omega-3s are kind of something that I just take year round.
Okay.
Kids take year round. I
Hmm.
think that they've probably made it into a lot of people's mind by somebody. Most people
Hmm.
are that they're useful. The microbiome, the intestine, your gut houses 70% of your immune system, so I think it's really important and worthwhile to take care of. The other ones, I think I mentioned vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin D, zinc.
Hmm.
Berry is really good during the season, and it's really useful for upper respiratory tract infections. Echinacea purpurea, and I think that's it. Did we cover them? Oh, garlic extract, I didn't mention.
Garlic extract.
Garlic
And I know that
extract,
some of,
garlic.
I'm sorry, what was that?
My husband will just eat the garlic
Right.
smell for 3 days.
We won't tell them.
I
So, does it make sense to take the vitamin, or do you recommend breaking them out and just having 6 or 7 or 8 different pills that one would take, or in liquid form?
In this season, I do. What? I'm sorry. Say again. Liquid form. I didn't hear the
Well,
end.
like the elderberry, I know that we have at home, and it's in a liquid form. Uh,
Right. Oh, so you're saying the multivitamin versus
yeah, should we take the multivitamin, or should we break those out individually?
I take both, to be honest. I take both. So I'll take my immune protocol is on top of my existing protocol. It's not to the exclusion of it.
Great.
So that's I don't find it to be harmful in any way. My kids do the same thing. You're not getting nearly the amount that you should be getting. It's almost 100% certain you're not getting the amount that you need. So yeah, we take
All
both.
right. So it sounds like we should eat well, we should detox and supplement, get some sleep, get some exercise, drink plenty of water, and if we have questions, to call you in the morning.
I'm just going to have you teach the classes.
Well, I just put up the name of your clinic so that if folks have questions, you can check you guys out online. And I want to thank you for offering that people email you and ask you questions. I know that some of this, like I said earlier, is going to be commonsensical because we have heard this many times. It's just nice to have it all put together in one place. And I really love the 7 basics that you put together, that, the breath, the fuel, hydration, sun, movement, sleep, and the mindset, because it really does encapsulate all of the things that we're probably already aware of, but we may not be doing it as part of one kind of taking care of ourselves package. And I also appreciate that you broke this down so we don't have to feel like we just have to get everything done perfectly. And sometimes just getting things done and starting to move in the right direction is better than waiting to get it all perfect and learn before we
Right.
start implementing. So inertia is
And
something that works in every single aspect of our life, and positive inertia is what you've been sending our way. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so happy you gave me the opportunity to speak to people. Um, just one little parting thought that I had was, if you are a person who knows a lot about this information, uh, there's not enough people who can start speaking about this information, and giving people a sense of empowerment and control in this time when there's just really a lot of fear and confusion. So yeah, include your families, include your friends, and spread the word.
Well, and thank you for getting us started on spreading that word. And perhaps you can give us an update on other ways to stay healthy as we get through this unpleasant time and beyond. So,
So
Doc, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
thank you for having me.
All right, Maria, be well.
You as well.